Previously on Gears.
Hello, Steve.
Hey, Sasha.
Are you well, my friend?
I'm well, and you?
Very, very good. Did you have a good long weekend and happy Easter and all of that? Look at you, looking fresh. It looks like you've been in the sun.
I have been in the sun a bit. Well, it's been raining in Cape Town, so there was patches of sunlight. But I was out on my bicycle at every opportunity. You'd be glad to know.
No, not really. I don't like anything to do with bicycles, but thanks anyway. Steve, now this is a good one. You've got the Toyota Auris and the Golf 7, which is now just being crowned World Car of the Year. World Car of the Year. Wow. Is there really a contest?
No, there isn't actually. I mean, this Golf should be crowned, Universe Car of the Year. It's just
really
it's so streets ahead of everything else that's out there at the moment in terms of this size hatchback that sadly it isn't a contest. I spent a week with the Auris now, having spent the previous week with the Golf, and I was kind of hoping that this car would at least put up the gloves for a round or two, but this is pretty much a first punch knockout, I'm afraid.
Ooh, really? Is it that severe?
Yeah, look, I think the Auris really needs to look at probably the Koreans as genuine contenders now, or opponents, because this Golf really sets a bar so high for every element that you look at in a car, from the way it looks to the build quality to the interior, even to the price. It's an unbelievable car, this one.
I just don't know why then VW continue to persevere with like a Passat range and a Jetta range when they've got something like a Golf. And I understand the boot space for one point of it, but one of those has to eventually fall down. I mean, the Golf is such an iconic car that I mean, you're just going to choose a Golf over buying a Passat any day.
I think so too. I think South Africa just has a kind of leftover legacy of people do actually want sedans. They want boots here. I mean, I've asked VW and Audi the same question. It's like, why do you guys bother? Or why don't you bring out more estate variants if people are looking for space? Because aesthetically, I don't know about you, but I really do like the look of an estate over the traditional booted sedan kind of car. Yeah. But it seems like South Africans still kind of like that stuff. So. We're an old school bunch to some degree, I guess.
Yeah, it's just rather. I mean, if you look at the VW range, and I mean we're talking Golf specifically, but you look at the VW range, and you've got the Audi A4, but then in VW you've got a Passat, and you might even have a Jetta, and you're going, but hold on a second, guys, surely you've got too many here. And I know they're all competing against each other, Steve, but it just doesn't make too much economic sense to me.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to argue that it doesn't make economic sense because all brands under that kind of corporation now, if you want to call them that, whether it's Audi or VW or Skoda or Seat or whatever it is in Europe as well, they're all pretty much selling a lot of cars. So I agree. When it comes to Audi in their sort of the shape and the styling of the car. Unless you're within 5 or 6 meters, you can't tell the difference between an A4 and an A6, for example.
Yeah.
It's just so much of a familiar silhouette. But I think they do offer a quality car in every one of those market segments, especially when it's competing against the Japanese, and they do win. I think up against their fellow Germans, it gets a little tougher though.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Okay, let's get back to the Golf 7 because I'd like to know more about this. I mean, what derivative did you drive of the Golf 7? And sort of give us sort of ballpark price ranges, what you get for a Golf 7 and what you get for the Auris.
Okay, so the 7 range comes in, I think at the moment there's 3 engine variants. There's a 1.2 turbo, 1.4 turbo, and there's a 2-liter TDI. That's what they offer at the moment. And obviously everybody's waiting for mid-year when the GTR will come out.
Yeah.
So that and then the Golf R, I think probably towards the end of the year. So those 3 engines at the moment, and as usual, it comes in 3 trim levels, if you want to call it that. There's like a trend line, comfort line, and there's the other one I can't remember at the moment. Blue line, I think. But yeah, so you're looking at prices from like 238,000 up to 334 for the TDI.
Okay.
So, you know, fairly expensive. But the one I drove was the kind of sits in the middle. I guess it's the 1.4 TSI. So, and there was the trend line. So it was the bottom of the range of that car. But still, you know, pretty decently spec'd out. You know, it didn't have leather seats. It didn't have any kind of sat nav or climate control. It had air conditioning, but not fancy climate control. So missing a couple of things that would you know, which were options, which we're going to probably push the price up another 20, 25K.
All right.
But you're looking at a car that, say, costing you 250 up against the Auris, which was pretty much the same price. So you're looking at 253 for the 1.6 XR Auris, which I drove. Leather seats, not a lot of leather. There weren't too many cows skin for this car, I can tell you. There was nice leather seat.
Japanese leather.
Yeah. I think the Japanese make that great beef, but they're not great with the leather, though.
Okay, but it's a 1.6 against a 1.4. I mean, what is exciting about this car?
Well, the exciting stuff about the Golf is that it really manages to do that sort of special trick that some cars get right or some manufacturers get right, and that is that the car is it's comfortable but it's still supple and it still feels like it handles really well. It's still really well planted, especially through the front wheels. It's a front wheel drive car, as you know.
Yeah.
So you know sometimes the suspension can get a bit hard, or you feel that you can't quite put the power down, which sometimes does happen with an Auris. There were a couple of wheel spins that I had, which, you know, I'm not adverse to wheel spins, but they were still not intended. Whereas the Golf manages to put all 103 kilowatts down comfortably. A very little body roll, but still feels supple and comfortable. And that's the real trick about this car. Is it just feels a really, really comfortable car to be in, and it just exudes quality from the moment that you get in.
Yeah, listen, it sounds like a remarkable car, and as you say, winning World Car of the Year, Steve, it's going to be another top seller for VW in South Africa.
Yeah, I think so. You know, getting back to your earlier question about how does the VW Group make, you know, how does it make economic sense to have so many derivatives? This car is based on the MQB platform that VW and Toyota and Audi have. So it's the same as the A3. So they're kind of economies of scale, I guess, in that kind of manufacturing process. So you're sharing components. And it also means, you know, as Audis generally are pretty quality cars, that you're going to have a really good base to build a dynamic chassis and a quality automobile on top of it.
Now, we look at what VW are presenting. How does Toyota now go about marketing its Auris? I mean, if it's sort of positioned against a Golf just above a Polo, what are they going to have to do in order to entice people to buy it?
I think Toyota are going to rely on quite a loyal customer base, and I think that's one thing Toyota have always had. I mean, it stems from you buying a Hilux or whether you're buying a Corolla. It just has this legacy of reliability, and it's one of those kind of no-brainer cars. You know, you don't have to think too much driving a Toyota. It does everything, and it does it kind of to a level it doesn't make you too kind of conscious about whether you know how cool your car looks or whether it's going to break down or all that kind of stuff. So, you know, it had that, and I think it has loyal customer base. That said, the styling from this one is a step up from the previous Auris, which to be honest wasn't very difficult. I mean, it has to be one of the most cars in the history of design. It was, I don't know, what do you call those? Like the sensible shoe of cars or the granny pants of cars? I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just, that was it.
Yes, so it was bland.
It was bland. It was like, yeah. I'm going to make my mother's cooking, but she might be listening, so I won't go into that anymore. So this new one takes some styling cues from the Lexus, from that CT200H, that hybrid hatchback of theirs.
Yes.
They're quite a lot. If you have a look at it, especially the back, that rear pillar, and the way that the kind of stance of the car. So I think that's been quite a good thing, because I quite like the look of that car, I've got to say.
Yeah, no. I also like the look of it. I wasn't particularly impressed with the way that it went, but I did like the look of it.
Agreed. And that was basically, their standard hybrid with some fancy clothes on it. But this is the best thing about this new Auris, is that it looks pretty cool. And I did get a few sideward glances while driving this car, which is an unusual experience in a Toyota. So I think it's getting noticed. But that's probably where it's kind of the positives. Well, that's being a bit unfair. It's a comfortable car to drive too. The seats are quite comfortable. It's got a pretty good gearbox, and that was one thing I noticed quite immediately. And that's sometimes in city driving, you might want to go for an automatic. This has got especially if you've got six speed manual on your under your left hand. Mm-hmm. But this was very smooth, very manageable. I'd probably say that in the looks with the exterior were the highlights of the car. Inside, nah, I mean. This is like a bit of a Back to the Future experience. It's very, it's not that much different to like a 20-year-old Corolla inside, to be honest. It's being a bit mean, but inside it's just it's old-fashioned. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, bit of work still to be done. Anyway, that's a great one, Steve. What else what you got coming up?
I'm trying to hook up a M6, a BMW M6. Trying very hard with the BMW guys. There are only a limited amount of journalists who have been given the car keys to this one.
Okay.
I'm trying for us to talk about next week.
Well, listen, good luck with that, because I would love to hear about. I've seen the new 6 Series driving around, but I haven't seen an M6 as well. So, but that engine is quite spectacular.
One of my favorite cars. I mean, I loved the previous generation 6 Series.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite looking. I know it had a lot of criticism, but I just loved it. And of all the M cars that I've driven, that M6 in the previous gen was the best one for me. I absolutely adored that car. So let's have a look.
Yeah, look forward to it. All right, my friend, you have a great week, and we won't chat next Tuesday, Steve, but we will chat on Wednesday. Is that okay?
That's good.
All right, but I'll keep you in the loop.
Thanks, Sasha.
Cheers, Steve.
One.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye. There we go, Steve Smith telling us all about cars. Toyota Auris versus Golf 7. Well, just Golf 7, so well done to that.
Weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central African Time.
Beautiful.
Gears with Sasha Martinengo on bulls.co.za.